and elvish bowmen were among them. At length the foremost of these climbed the tumble rocks and appeared at the top of the falls, and were great was the surprise to see the pool before them and the gate blocked with a new wall of hewn stone. As they stood pointing and speaking to one another, Thorin hailed them. "Who are you?" he called in a great loud voice, "that come as if to war to the gates of Thorin, son of Thrain, king under the mountain? And what do you desire?" But they answered nothing. Some turned swiftly back, and the others, after gazing for a while at the gate and its defences, soon followed them. That day the camp was moved to the east of the river, right between the arms of the mountain. The rocks echoed then with voices and with song, as they had not done for many a day. There was a sound, too, of elven harps and of sweet music, as though it echoed up towards them, and what seemed to be the chill of air was warmed, and they caught faintly the fragrance of woodland flowers and blossoming in spring. Then Bilbo longed to escape from the dark fortress and to go down and join in the mirth and feasting by the fires. Some of the younger dwarfs were moved in their hearts too, and they muttered that they wished things had fallen out otherwise, and that they might otherwise welcome such folk as friends. But Thorin scowled. Then the dwarves themselves brought forth harps and instruments, regained from the hoard, and made music to soften his mood, but their song was not an elvish song, and was much more like the song they had sung before in Bilbo's little hobbit hole.
Under the mountain dark and tall, the king has come unto his hall. His foe is dead, the worm of dread, and ever so his foes shall fail.
The sword is sharp, the spear is long, the arrow swift, the gate is strong, the heart is bold, it looks and gold. The dwarves no more shall suffer wrong. The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells in places deep where dark things sleep.
The king is come unto his hall, under the mountain dark and tall. The worm of dread is slain and dead, and ever so our foes shall fail, and ever so our foes shall fail.
This song appeared to please Thorin, and he smiled again and grew merry, and he began reckoning the distance to the Iron Hills and how long it would be before Dain would reach the Lonely Mountain, if he had set out as soon as the message reached him. But Bilbo's heart fell, both at the song and the talk. They sounded much too warlike. The next morning, early, a company of spearmen were seen crossing the river and marching up the valley. They bore with them a green banner of the Elven King and the blue banner of the lake, and they advanced until they stood right before the wall of the gate. Again Thorin hailed them in a loud voice. "Who are you that comes armed for war at the gates of Thorin, son of Thrain, king under the mountain?" This time he was answered. A tall man stood forth, dark of hair and grim of face, and he cried, "Hail, Thorin! Why do you fence yourself in like a robber in his hold? We are not yet foes, and we rejoice that you're alive beyond our hope. We came expecting to find none living here. Yet now we are met, and there is a matter for parley and counsel." "Who are you, and what of your parley?" "I am Bard, and by my hand was the dragon slain and your treasure delivered. Is that not a matter that concerns you? Moreover, I am by right descent the heir of Girion of Dale, and in your hoard is mingled much of the wealth of his halls and towns which of old Smaug stole. Is not that a matter of which we may speak? Further, In his last battle, Smaug destroyed the dwellings of the men of Esgaroth, and I am yet the servant of their master. I would speak for him, and ask whether you no thought for the sorrow and misery of his people. They aided you in your distress, and in recompense you have thus far brought only ruin, though doubtless undesigned. Now these were fair-spoken words, and true, if proudly and grimly spoken, and Bilbo thought that Thorin would at once admit what justice was in them. He did not, of course, expect that any one would remember that it was he who discovered by all himself the dragon's weak spot, and that was just as well, for no one ever did. But also he did not reckon with the power that gold has upon which a dragon has long brooded, nor with the dwarves' hearts. Long hours in the past days Thorin had spent in the treasury, and lust of it was heavy on him. Though he was hunted chiefly for the Arkenstone, yet he had an eye for many other wonderful things that were lying there, about which old memories of the labours and sorrows of his race wound. "You put your worst cause last, and in the chief place," Thorin answered. "To the treasure of my people no man has a claim, because Smaug, who stole it from us, also robbed him of life or home. The treasure was not his, that his evil deeds should be amended with a share of it. The price of the goods and the assistance that we received from men we will fairly pay in due time. But nothing will we give, not even a loaf's worth, under threat of force. While an armed host lies before our doors, we look on you as foes and thieves." It is in my mind to ask what share of their inheritance you would have paid to our kindred had you found the hoard unguarded and us slain. "A just question," replied Bard, "but you are not dead, and we are not robbers. Moreover, the wealthy may have pity beyond right on the needy that befriended them when they were in want, and still my other claims remain unanswered. I will not parley, as I have said, with armed men at my gate, nor with all the people of the Elven King, whom I remember with small kindness. In this debate they have no place. Begone now, ere our arrows fly, and if you could speak with me again, first dismiss the elvish host to the woods, where it belongs, and then return, laying down your arms before you approach the threshold." "The Elven King is my friend, and he has succoured the people of the lake in their need, though they had no claim but friendship on him," answered Bard. "We will give you time to repent your words. Gather your wisdom ere we return." Then he departed and went back to the camp. Ere many hours were past, and banner-bearers returned, and trumpeters stood forth and blew a blast. "In the name of Esgaroth and the forest," one cried, "we speak unto Thorin Thrain's son Oakenshield, calling himself king under the mountain, and we bid him consider well the claims that have been urged or be declared our foe. At the least we shall deliver 1/12 portion of the treasure unto Bard, as the dragon slayer, and as the heir of Girion. From that portion Bard will himself contribute to the aid of Esgaroth. But if Thorin would have friendship and honour of the lands about, as his sires of old had, then he will give also somewhat of his own for the comfort of the men of the lake." Then Thorin seized a bow of horn and shot an arrow at the speaker. It smote into his shield and stuck there quivering. "Since such is your answer," he called in return, "I declare the mountain besieged. You shall not depart from it until you call on your side for a truce and a parley. We will bear no weapons against you, but we will leave you to your gold. You may eat that, if you will." With that, the messengers departed swiftly. The dwarves were left to consider their case. So grim had Thorin become, that even if they had wished, the others would not have dared to find fault with him. But indeed, most of them seemed to share his mind, except perhaps old fat Bombor and Filly and Killy. Bilbo, of course, disapproved of the whole turn of affairs. He had by now had more than enough of the mountain, and being besieged inside, it was not at all to his taste. "This whole place, it still stinks of dragon," he grumbled to himself, "and it makes me sick, and cram is beginning simply to stick in my throat." End of chapter 15.